You know, they're selling you all wolf tickets, people. You're eating them right up.
Hey, pussy, are you still there?
I back. Trust me, I back.
But I'm not impressed by your performance.
Ele deu nothing. Ele deu nothing. Shut your fucking mouth, ele deu nothing. Ele deu fucking nothing. Not one of you will do nothing.
I'll tell you what, bro. You know, I was out there, I was fighting all the hitters, bro. You ain't fighting no hitters.
Come on, guys. Normal.
I'm not saying I would fight you. I would kill you.
John, John, do you think kill me, John? I mean, really?
No, don't be scared, homie.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the fuck he wants.
I'm gonna beat you into the living death. I mean, maybe that's your job, but where I come from, you know, people like that get slapped.
That's fucking illegal.
Matthysse, you just shook up the world. How's that feel?
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Yeah, this is a simulated death match. And you haven't simulated anybody's death yet.
I said it last year. We're not here just to take part. We're here to take over.
What is the game plan going in against him?
The game plan is you go in there, hit him with some good shit, don't get hit, and come home with a pocket full of cash.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Everybody's on steroids. The whole UFC, everybody.
I'm gonna go home tonight. I'm gonna drink a Coors Light. That's a Coors Light because Bud Light won't pay me nothing.
Do you want to be a fighter? That is my question.
Any of you radio personalities think you want smoke? Call me Mr. Chimney. I want smoke.
Yes. What is up, MCR family? Another daily edition of the show, Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. in the UK, live on YouTube, and obviously you can find it on podcast form on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, and more. A lot of our audience is actually listening through the iTunes podcast app. Definitely leave a review on the podcast. It helps for visibility. I'm going to read all these reviews. We already have 2 right now, but I want some more. We don't have enough to get an aggravated score or rating yet. So if you listen right now, even on YouTube, there's going to be a few hundred of you listening on YouTube. There's going to be a few hundred of you listening on podcasts. Go back to the podcast. Go on iTunes. If you don't have iTunes, it's okay. I forgive you. But go, find it, leave that review. It helps a lot. If you're here on YouTube already, hit that like button. Shout out to Kyle, Rick, Wayne, Elias, Nija, Aaron, and Georgie Porgy, all in this super chat, or I should say live chat. We don't have super chat yet, but salute to everyone here. Obviously, this show is going to be heavy on reviewing this last weekend's action, whether it be boxing, MMA, obviously boxing first, and we're going to cover all boxing topics, news, and fights, and then get into the MMA card and its news of the day. But before all of that, I feel like I'm getting some hate online. I decided to make, very quickly after Pacquiao won against Matthysse on Saturday, not make the claim, or I should say I asked the question, was there any PED testing at all for this fight? Are there any drug tests at all in Malaysia for combat sports? Was there any VADA or USADA being used? And of course, there wasn't. And obviously, Pacquiao fans and Pactards, or whatever you want to call them, they did not like my claims or questions or assertions. And here's the deal. And I'm going to make it very clear at the top of the show, table it, and we can move on to the actual fight itself, discuss it, break down what the action was, and where Pacquiao goes from here. I think that's a much funner discussion, even though, let's be honest,
I want smoke.
I do. Come on, Pacquiao fans, let's go. Definitely leave comments below. You have the second biggest fighter of a generation, one of the top 5 most transcendental fighters of all time, deciding to fight overseas and have 0 PED tests. 0. No VADA. There was no commission tests. There wasn't the traditional even piss test on fight night. There wasn't anything for this fight. I'm not going to sit here and be, on the whiteboard like Glenn Beck style, make conspiracy theories and saying, he was juicing. But in today's age, in 2018, where we freaked out about Earl Spence having weird nipples and not being in the clean boxing program. We freaked out about Kell Brook for not being in the clean boxing program, even though he's been tested by UCAD always for, and he was in the clean boxing program for a day, then joined up. We have numerous occasions of freakouts and hysterias about fighters either not in the clean boxing program, not using VADA, etc., etc. And yet we have this guy, top 5 most transcendental star in boxing history, not doing VADA testing, and there is barely a fucking peep out of anyone in the boxing media or the fan base. Barely. To his credit, Gabriel Montoya is, like me, making it very clear that this should be a sticking point in the boxing discussion for this week. Mortal Peace. Hold on. In the chat. That is hilarious. Come on, Matt. He just wanted some Mexican meat without authorities cracking down on him. No, man, that's great. Lieben, I'm not going to try to pronounce your name. Vergeson, saying if it was in a different country, people would freak out. What country would you mean? Like if this fight was in the U.S. and there was no VADA testing, you think that more people would be aware of it? I would like you to expound on that point, Lieben, in the chat. But digressing, we have, like I said, the top 5 most transcendental boxer of all time, not doing VADA tested, not doing any PED testing at all, in an age where that is now the benchmark, that is now the standard of what you should be and do as an elite boxer. You need to be drug tested year-round, randomly. You just do. I have my own personal concerns with that. I've talked about it kind of ad nauseum on this program and my last program I was on. I'm not going to get into that specifically, and there's better people for that discussion, that debate. Check out Luke Thomas, and plenty of his work is about that. Check out some of Ian Kidd's writings on Bloody Elbow. Fantastic articles. But this is the standard now. Whether we like it, whether I like it or not, this is now the standard. Where if you are a top 15 boxer, you need to be drug tested year-round by a third-party entity. And even that has its question marks. Because I obviously have my criticisms of the clean boxing program with the WBC. I've had my criticism of the USADA deal with the UFC. But that is still now the standard. So I'm sorry, Manny Pacquiao, or should I say Manny Pacquiao fans. I'm not going to sit here and bury my head in the sand and be a good boy journalist and not talk about this. Because I've had people tell me that it is irresponsible as a media member to even have this discussion. No, I think it's more irresponsible to not talk about one of the greatest fighters of all time deciding not to do drug testing. And your defense cannot be, oh, where's the evidence? That is exactly the argument we are having here. Where is the evidence? We can't have any because Manny Pacquiao decided not to do any drug tests. So we can't go back to, oh, well, he did all these tests in the camp, so obviously he's good. We can't do that. Heck, we can't even do a fight night generic bullshit drug test that we know he could fucking get past. No, we're not. And I think the inconsistencies of the fan base, and especially the media, is what is frustrating me the most. Manny Pacquiao can do whatever he wants, let's be honest, because we are not holding him to account. We aren't. He has talked about his next fight being in the U.S. Obviously, we're going to get to that. If he does not do VADA testing for his next fight, people should be upset. And if they're not upset, then that is a stain on the boxing community because we are not being consistent. We are being hypocrites in the way we conduct this PD witch hunt in the new 21st century. So we got to decide now, as a culture, as a community, what is the standard? Because Manny Pacquiao should be held to that standard, whatever it is. Just because he's a star, just because he's Manny Pacquiao, just because he is who he is, does not mean that we should excuse this. Just being honest. But tabling that, because I just wanted to get that off the top, get my thoughts on that, and get over it, and move on to the actual fight. Because Manny Pacquiao did look great. And I've said that in my initial tweet, which people got upset about. I said that, yeah, beside all this, his performance was amazing. He looked like, third fight with Bradley, good, if not maybe a little bit better. Obviously, a part of that is due to his opponent, Matthysse, and what he's at. But also, Manny Pacquiao just being a better boxer. He was able to dart in and out, side to side, pretty much at will, without really any concern with Matthysse catching him on that. Matthysse really had no game plan going into it. And obviously, I should say that it was stopped in the 7th round via TKO for Manny Pacquiao. There's some out there questioning whether Matthysse quit. I don't even want to deal with that. You can go find other channels for that bullshit. To me, of all the list of debates and discussions we should have after this weekend, that is not high on my list. But I will say that I thought Mathisse's lack of game plan was very upsetting. He allowed Manny Pacquiao to not be along the ropes. He allowed Manny Pacquiao to be in the center and basically dictate the entire pace of the fight. Manny Pacquiao was in control from round 1 all the way through literally every second of the fight. Matthysse landed a few shots on Pacquiao, leaving saying Matthysse looked like he had wooden legs more than usual. Yeah, and obviously a portion of that is due to Pacquiao being, even in his stage, still an athletic specimen, like still very agile for being a 39-year-old, now almost 70-fight pro boxing career that he's had. He's still a good athlete, especially compared to, again, a equally shot Matthysse who was never on the level of Pacquiao. And remember when I previewed the show, and I should give myself gunshots because I picked Matthysse. There we go. When I picked this, or when I previewed this fight, I said if Pacquiao comes out here and he's just still the better boxer, and they're both equally shot, Pacquiao should win this still. He is better in almost every category, and he showed that again. I think Matthysse is going to be one of those guys that's going to keep fighting, but he's quickly going to go into irrelevancy, I think, towards the Shane Mosley, Roy Jones sort of realm, where they're at in their respective pro careers. I think you're going to see Matthysse slowly, if not quickly, go to that, let's be honest, after this loss. But now with Pacquiao, with this win, WBA regular championship at welterweight, not the super belt, just for those that wanted to know, want that confirmed. Where does Pacquiao go from here? I am really hyped on the idea of a Broner fight, to be honest. I think that makes the most sense. I talked about it in the live fight chat and the media reaction, that Manny Pacquiao versus Adrian Broner has so many storylines. Could be a U.S. pay-per-view, I think. Is a winnable fight for both guys. It's a money fight. And plus, if Pacquiao wants to fight Mayweather next, which he's mentioned that if Mayweather comes out of retirement, he wants to fight Mayweather again, I think one of the best ways to a Mayweather is beating an Adrian Broner, a la Maidana style. I think there's, even though obviously Broner and Mayweather don't have the relationship that they did when Broner and Maidana fought, I think it's still a narrative that could be spun. I think Mayweather, even though he just topped the list on Forbes for being the highest paid celebrity in the world, that's just a crazy stat. Georgie's saying WBA got more belts than Walmart. That's so true, man. So true. I think the Broner fight makes a lot of sense. Some other fights, I think Amir Khan makes a lot of sense for Pacquiao, even though I think it would be kind of funny if Amir Khan never got that Pacquiao fight that he's been trying to get for like a decade. Like, there's a part of me that would chuckle at that as just being a cynical prick, but that's definitely like 1A and 1B for me for what I want for Pacquiao next. I don't think Pacquiao should go and fight the very top guys. That just makes no sense to me. I'm not really intrigued by it. I think they're easy wins for those respective guys fighting Pacquiao. I think Danny, Sean, Earl, Crawford, Thurman, even off a long comeback and layoff, I think they all beat Pacquiao. Let's be honest here. I think Jeff Warren beats him in a rematch, to be honest. I just don't see... I still don't see the greatness of Pacquiao. I saw Pacquiao be just the better boxer and more athletic still than the fighter he was facing on Saturday. It is what it is. James Lopez saying, hey, Matt, just subscribe to your channel. Are you still with TBV? No, I'm not. I know a lot of people are still not understanding that and don't know the information. But, yeah, I'm no longer with TBV. I wish them all but nothing but success, I should say. But moving on, digressing, sorry. Moving on to Regis Prograis versus Velasquez. I'll be honest, I thought Prograis looked... How should I do this? He hasn't really improved drastically from fight to fight, and that concerns me because now I'm seeing a very not one-dimensional, but one-tone style in his game. He is very much the Jared Hurd of 140 pounds, and that is still awesome. You can still have a great career being that, but I think there's limitations to that. Being the come forward aggressor that's sort of stalking his opponent, slowly works up the volume to where he just sort of puts you out of there. Great offensive mindset, but the defensive sort of, what should I say? The defensive flaws in Prograis' game are apparent. He is obviously hittable, but I think that's too generic. There's certain things that he does that allows him to be even more hittable than, let's say, some other guys. Because obviously he does have pretty good waist movement. But one thing I've noticed is that when he does get caught with a shot when he's coming forward, he will immediately stop. He will immediately stop in his track, and you can land more shots from that. So let's say if you land a jab off of him, Josh Taylor being a southpaw versus the southpaw in Regis Prograis, the jab would be more optimal for that matchup. I can see Josh Taylor just jabbing Prograis consistently and being able to stop Prograis in his track because he needs to then reset his game, reset his entrances, reset his timing, his sort of distance. I've noticed that. Also, he is consistently a guy that doesn't back up well. He backs straight up when he does back up, even though he doesn't that often, especially in this fight. Let's be honest, Velasquez gave him nothing. Though I do think Prograis' his head movement and waist movement gets him out of a lot of trouble. He only takes about 2 or 3 steps back, straight back, and then stops. He doesn't. I don't see a fighter that is adept at fighting on the back foot yet. Not that he's not. I don't think we've just seen it, to be honest. I think a guy that's a little more aggressive with him, that can make him sort of be defensive, you will start to see cracks in Prograis' game. Start to see him get hit a lot. Because he was hit quite a few times early in this fight, I would say. Obviously, he was a notch above. Still won probably every round except for maybe 1 or 2. But you saw moments where with an opponent that really shouldn't give him those moments. But I still think Prograis, if not is a favorite to win the WBSS tournament, is the second behind Josh Taylor. And I still think he can have a great career being the quote-unquote Jared Hurd of that division. But there is definitely defensive flaws I see in his game that top-notch boxers that can take his aggressiveness can definitely capitalize on 100%. Another boxer I want to mention today, Teofimo Lopez, put on a great performance versus William Silva. And I'll put it this way. I saw mixed reactions to Teofimo Lopez. I saw a lot of praise, but I saw some hate. I'm kind of in the middle, I'll be honest. I think Teofimo Lopez has, out of, let's say, the top-ranked prospects, you look at the Shakur Stevensons, the Michael Conlon of the world, Michaela Mayers of the world, etc. I think Teofimo Lopez might be the best overall package right now. I don't know if he has the best ceiling. I think maybe Shakur maybe have the better ceiling slightly. But Teofimo is a complete package right now. He could really start fighting with some of these top 15 guys and piecing them up, in my opinion. I would love... I know Anthony Corolla is no longer at 135, I believe. I think he's at 140. But that sort of matchup. A guy that is a veteran that's fought a lot of top guys but has a bunch of losses. That's a little bit one-dimensional. But just more of a name, so to speak. I want to see that with the Teofimo Lopez next because he's ready for that. He has the skills. He has the mindset. Yes, there are similar defensive flaws with him, with Regis Prograis, just because of their style of fighting, the way they work off the shoulder roll and their waist movement. But Teofimo is much quicker, much more agile, a much better athlete, I would say, than a Prograis. So that allows him to get away with some of his shit more often. Because his ability to just, do the simple roll and catch shots, it's pretty good. Like, it's definitely high level. I think he doesn't lack maybe the power that, again, just using comparisons here, Prograis has, because they're both on the same card. It's easy to compare the two. I think his combination of overall athleticism, timing, accuracy, boxing IQ, he is a threat. He is absolutely a threat, especially with some more seasoning under his belt. Does he beat the guys of a Lomachenko or a Mike Garcia or Robert Easter Jr. at 135? Not at this point, obviously. But you can still have a great career being a number 4 guy in the division consistently, perennially. You can still have a great career being top 8 of your generation. That's definitely something I could see with Teofimo Lopez. He has a great career ahead of him. Great win. Wayne saying, suggestion, bring in co-host every week like Monster. Monster's always allowed on this show. Shout out to Monster, man. Great person to work with. Great personality. Overall, just great person. Shout out to my homegirl Monster in the East Coast. By digressing, James, I don't know if you're asking me that question, or Georgie's saying, are you going to buy the DAZN subscription for AJ's next fight? I might pull the trigger. His next fight is a major risk. I'm definitely getting DAZN for that first month. Not only do they have AJ Povetkin and that card has some really good fights. Conor Benj on it, Chris Eubanks on it, Amir Khan's in that same month. Bellator has a phenomenal stacked card that month with Gegard Mousasi versus Rory McDonald. I know it's MMA. You may not care about that, James, but for just a combat sports fan, it's worth the money in that first month alone. Especially, I don't know when they're going to start getting the World Boxing Super Series off the ground with DAZN. But that's obviously going to be going concurrently with Eddie Hearn's Match from USA and their UK cards that we get, live streaming access to. And now Bellator, for $9 now or $9.99 because they did drop the price. I don't know if anyone knows that. But yes, I know it was or either was or is $20 in Canada. It's gonna be $10 in the US. Yeah, I'm getting DAZN. But digressing quickly, there's some other fights like Carlos Gonzalez from Venezuela, I believe. Phenomenal fight. Just beat up his opponent. Definitely like a Miguel Berchelt sort of style. Less of a jab behind it, but he was facing a southpaw. I forgive him on that. It's hard to get a southpaw game going. But he's a mean hooker, man. So I definitely will always love watching Gonzalez's fights. Even though I'll be honest, I'm not like the most hyped on him like some boxing hipsters are. He's just a really good fighter, in my opinion. Another Miguel Berchelt. But moving on, as always, let's move on to the UFC card. No, actually, no, wait. Sorry. We have to do some boxing news. I forgot about that. As we close out our boxing portion of the show, pull it up. Team Lomachenko. Pacquiao must go to 135. No catch weight. Come on, Loma. What are you doing here? I'll be honest. I'm not too hyped on this idea because I think Lomachenko is going to need to make it a catch weight or go to 140. Let's be completely honest about this. Because if you're Pacquiao, why would you go all the way down to 135? Like, why would you drain yourself to that much? It makes no sense. You're the star. Lomachenko's not, even though it's going to be a bigger paycheck for you. It just makes little to no sense, in my opinion. But shout out to Lomachenko for playing hardball. I mean, I definitely cannot blame him for that. I mean, it is what it is. But definitely I think that's the fight that Top Rank is sort of gearing towards, is Pacquiao versus Lomachenko. It's not going to be Crawford. I'm sorry, but I'm a huge fan of you, but it's not going to happen. Pacquiao doesn't want that smoke. He doesn't.
I want smoke.
No, you don't, Pacquiao. You don't. I'm sorry. Come on. James saying Jaime Munguia versus Liam Smith fight week. Great fight. Yes. We're going to discuss that on Wednesday. Same time as always, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, live on YouTube. Wednesdays are our preview shows for MMA and boxing, events of the weekend coming up. Unless I get a guest co-host like I did last week, like Anthony, we moved it back a few days for MMA, but kept boxing preview on Wednesday. So just keep an eye out for that if you want to see the preview from the Munguia and Smith fight. Another piece of boxing news before we head into MMA. AJ versus Povetkin officially announced. Yes. This was should be assumed, right? Like this was nowhere near close to being like not happening. It was nowhere near close to the fight, like not being made. Though it was kind of weird that it took this long to like officially announce it. But shout out to them for doing it, because if they weren't going to do it, I would have been concerned. Why is it taking this long? Cal saying Usyk Garcia is still not on U.S. television. No, it's not. But from what you should remember is that they have been streaming their fight cards live on YouTube, though they do not keep them up to watch later, which makes no sense. If anyone out there that when that fight comes out, you got to catch it live on YouTube if you're in the U.S., or you may not be able to get that stream, that HD live stream that you want so badly in a sense, right? Hold on 1 second as I pull something up. Sorry about that. James saying, I still can't believe Stipe got knocked out. That shouldn't be that surprising, I think. Not because, the way it happened and the fact it was in the first round, that should be surprising, let's be honest. But it's heavyweight MMA. That is definitely something that shouldn't be that sort of, a concern, so to speak. Not concern, shocking. Like, DC, even though he was underdog, he should have been the favorite for that. He was the better fighter overall. It made no sense why that shit wasn't closer. Like, he was like a 2-1 underdog, something like that, right? Like, it was something insane. But moving on, obviously, to the MMA portion of the show. So if you are just a boxing fan, I deeply, deeply apologize. We're moving into the UFC Fight Night Boise, UFC Fight Night 133, whatever they want to call it these days. Junior Santos versus Blagoy Ivanov event. The main event, obviously starting off with that, JDS versus Ivanov. I have really mixed feelings about this fight, I'll be completely honest. Obviously, Junior Santos won literally every round of this fight. Georgie, stop, man. Why are you even saying that? I got like a Bernie Sanders hat somewhere. Come on, fam. JDS, Ivanov. JDS looked great. In terms of just being the better fighter. He was more athletic, more skilled, stuck to a game plan, didn't get overzealous. When he was a little bit overzealous in the beginning, not setting up the right hand at all, he sort of fell back a bit, stuck behind the jab more, and just kept in the outside, boxing game, basically. And again, against a guy like Ivanov, you're going to beat him if you're Junior Santos. Though, again, he got hit with just a few shots, I feel like, and his face was all bruised up and swollen. He still doesn't look that great, in my opinion, in terms of just hit the shot factor. He still looks shot. He does. He looks faded. I'm concerned about what he wants to do next. Obviously, he wants to fight like Stipe Miocic in the third fight. I hate that. I think Stipe really hurts him. I think any of these top guys hurt him. I think Kyle mentioned it on the live fight chat, Andrei Vlasky. I think that makes the most sense for JDS. And even then, it's really hard seeing that guy, a true good guy of the sport, go out there, look old, and get his face beat up so simply in the process. Like, imagine if he was in a hard fight. Like, imagine he was not in a hard fight, and look at his post-fight interview. It's night and day difference. It's just really concerning to me from a health perspective, as a fan of JDS, and just as someone that is usually concerned with fighter safety and fighter health. You should be concerned about JDS. Moving on to the co-main event, Sage Northcutt defeating Zach Otao via KO in the second round. Sage Northcutt coming from some adversity in the first round, was taken down, was almost submitted a few times, came back, hurt Otao, dropped him, transitioned to that double leg he always does, which he has got to quit doing. When you have somebody that hurt, it is easier to just keep standing and piece them up than to try to go for a takedown, especially when you've had some difficulty with the submission game, even though Sage has some underrated grappling. But Otao was definitely significantly hurt. Only took a few more shots from a weird position. Otao tried to go for an ankle pick, and Sage Northcutt basically just hammer-fisted him and knocked him out. It won't be the first, or sorry, I should say, it won't be the last weird hammer fist knockout we're going to talk about tonight for sure. But Sage, short a great win. He's talked about moving up to 185. I don't know if I like that, but he is a big guy, so if he has to move up, I totally get that. Obviously, guys like Robert Whittaker, etc., have made a decent career moving up. Kelvin Gastelum, guys that we would think would be undersized at that weight class, are now fighting for the championship. It's definitely within the realm of possibility. But good win for Sage Northcutt. Rick Glenn defeating Dennis Bermudez via split decision. 130-27 scorecard. And then 29-28 and 29-28. Weird fight from both guys. Neither guy really got their game going, I felt like. It's one of those, it was a toss-up to me. I felt like the first round was clearly Dennis Bermudez. Third round was clearly Rick Glenn's, in my opinion. Could be wrong. And the second round was a toss-up. When I was watching it live, I slightly thought Dennis Bermudez won, but I'm not going to sit here and go on a soapbox about how he was robbed. I don't think that's the case at all, and that's okay. But quickly, I do want to quickly go to this, which I think is just a broader point I want to make. Waybe saying, "What's up, Matt? What's up, man? How you doing?" But quickly want to show this video. I should say, this is by way of MMA Junkie, and yeah, their Instagram page. So salute to them.
I got kids. I've got a house. It's financially it sucks, man. I gotta pay my coaches, my manager, paying for this week out here, flights. It doesn't pay to lose. It doesn't. If you're in the NBA and you lose, you still go back to your Ferrari. You still go here, man. You still have to pay tax on it. It sucks.
Yeah, I just want to quickly, make this really broad point and use this as an example. This is another case of where MMA, or I should say specifically the UFC, even though it is an MMA thing, has a very backwards way of conducting business still with the show and win money, as they say, right? Even boxers don't have that. And I think if you're out there and you are a fighter, and there are some fighters that listen to this show, shout out to you guys and women, you should go and sign your Project Spearhead identification card right now. If you have, it's time to be more vocal about it. People are literally losing brain health. They're getting brain damage while receiving shit money and shit contracts. Mistreated. The level of, what should I say, labor violations that the UFC has been committing that just really goes unnoticed and untalked about is kind of sad. Leslie Smith is out there. She is literally paving the pavement for you people out there to sign up and support this movement. Do it. If you're a fighter out there, if you're in the UFC and you're listening, and again, there are some that do. I know who you are. Do it. Please, because I'm tired of seeing this. As a fan, as a media member, I don't want to see you guys look like this. And if you do, you should get paid. You should. You should have sponsorships you can fall back on. You should never have to worry about money and paying bills if you are fighting in the UFC, especially a guy like Dennis Bermudez, who's been in the UFC for probably close to almost a decade now, has been a perennial top 10, top 15 featherweight in one of the best divisions in MMA history, beating some great guys. So it's really unfortunate to see this. If you are out there, again, please go contact Leslie Smith, contact Project Spirit, contact Lucas Middlebrook. There are people out there to help you. This movement should not die with this generation. This movement should be completed by this generation for other generations to not have to deal with the issues that you guys are having right now. Period. Point blank. Moving on from that. So I just wanted to quickly make that point. I saw that and it bothered me. I just wanted to quickly address that. Moving on. Nico Price defeating Randy Brown via KO in the second round. Absolutely brutal knockout in one of the weirdest fashions you could think of. Randy Brown took Nico Price down, transitioned to side control, had him stacked a little bit in his on his back, and was delivering some hard shots. And then basically Nico reversed it just slightly to where Randy Brown was against the cage. George St. Matt, sorry about college football and the Olympic team getting fucked even worse. Oh, I mean, yes. I mean, this isn't an issue of like which athletes are getting more screwed over. It's like, no, that's not the argument we're having here. The argument is let's have athletes stop getting screwed over. Rather than MMA, boxing, college football, and the Olympics, it doesn't matter. Athletes should not be getting screwed over. And it's up to themselves to sort of start this regulation movement. It's up to a generation of college sports athletes to change it. It really is. When they stop as a collective voice, say, no, fuck you guys, ripping us off, literally giving us brain damage while you collect money off of our names, off of our blood and sweat and tears. It's going to take that. Same with the UFC unionization movement. It's going to take them being a collective unit, voicing their concern. Digressing, sorry. Nico Price, again, phenomenal knockout against Randy Brown. He sort of pinned him up against the cage, and on his back, started hammer fisting him with the soft part of his hand right here, and knocked him out with like 2 or 3 shots, clean on the chin. Definitely, like, it was, I don't know what the term is. It was just insane. It was almost gut-wrenching of a knockout because the way Randy Brown's body was, limp and fell down, it was just, it deserved that 50G bonus for sure, Nico Price. That was a phenomenal knockout against Randy Brown in such a weird fashion. James Lopez says, does Stipe have any sign of brain damage? His speech, the way he talks? Probably not. I mean, let's be honest. Any of these fighters, or I should say all of them, are receiving brain damage in some capacity or another. It's all about degrees, like the degrees of the damage. You being knocked out is a concussion. A concussion is your brain smashing into the side of your skull and damaging it. Imagine how many times these guys get clocked with subconcussive blows in training. Like the thing is not does this fighter have brain damage? Is how many don't? Because that list is much smaller than the amount that probably do have brain damage. Let's be honest. Moving on to Chad Mendes versus Malajuri. First off, salute. Chad Mendes off of a 2-year PD suspension. Knocked out Matthysse in the first round. I mean, in devastating fashion. It was basically the first shot that landed from either guy was a duck under left hook, basically, from Chad Mendes. Clipped Matthysse, and a barrage of shots later finished it up. Great performance from Chad Mendes. A guy that, while doesn't have the claims of like a JDS and Josh Barnett in terms of their PD alleged use, but I mean, Chad Mendes obviously was found guilty. He served his time a 2-year suspension. At least he was drug tested, unlike Pacquiao. Just saying. Moving on. Chad Mendes looked great. Glad to see him back at featherweight and being a contender, because he is still that guy. I mean, he is still one of those that, he can get clipped and get finished, but he has only lost to Jose Aldo and Frankie Edgar and Conor McGregor. The 3 best fighters in the low weight classes ever, arguably. Like, if you're thinking about the pantheon of fighters of 155 and under, BJ Penn's obviously in there. Frankie Edgar's probably in there too, let's be honest. Jose Aldo's for sure in there. Conor McGregor's probably for sure in there at this point. Maybe like a Dominic Cruz, but Chad Mendes is close to that, I would say. And he's only lost to those sort of opponents. And Matthysse was definitely not one of those. Kat Zingano picking up her first win after 3 consecutive losses against Marion Renault. Unanimous decision. She looked phenomenal. She stuck to a game plan. Stitching back to what we're talking about Lucas Matthysse, game plans are important. When you're facing a fighter, any fighter, you should have an idea of what you want to do in there before you step in there. You should have an overall strategy, and then you should have individual tactics you use to achieve that strategic goal. Kat Zingano had that. She didn't really want to contend on the feet. When she did, it was in or out. She did not stay within boxing range with Marion Renault. She was either in her face or completely on the outside, to where Marion Renault would throw lazy kicks to sort of set up maybe some of Zingano's takedowns. And then obviously she controlled the grappling aspect completely as predicted. Put on a great performance and a very emotional post-fight speech, or interview, I should say. It was heartbreaking. And her story is just one of those that you feel for her on some level, definitely. What she has gone through, her husband committing suicide, that's a lot. And then you look at her professional career. Since that, it's been up and down, to say the least. But salute to her for picking up that big win. And really, I think, connecting with a lot of people out there, just because that raw emotion people connect with. They do. Alejandro Perez defeated Eddie Wineland via unanimous decision. I'll be honest. I've watched this twice, sort of now. I've kind of been in and out of this fight. I should probably watch it closer. I don't understand how Perez won that. Maybe I need to watch it more intently, because I'll be honest, I haven't. It's a fight that I still do not care about. But I thought Eddie Wineland was kind of controlling it throughout. I could be wrong. Again, I mean, the judges were sort of laughed at by MMA Twitter. Definitely let me know in the chat if I'm crazy, if I need to go watch the fight again, or if I'm right that the judges were just wild in all night. Alexander Volkanovski defeated Darren Elkins via unanimous decision, 30-27 and 229-28 scorecards. Volkanovski, Kyle making the point in the chat saying Volkanovski really impressed me. Good performance. Good performance. I wouldn't say it was great. I wouldn't say I was overly impressed. He was just drastically more athletic and powerful than a Darren Elkins. Darren Elkins, while being sort of the workman-like fighter, think of like Jacob Volkman back in the day, right? He has never been the athlete, never been known to be fast in almost any category when you think about fighting, whether it be hand speed, foot speed, whatever it is. He has always been the slow, sort of grinding grappler that's just going to give you issues. Volkanovski was an actual athlete with actual punching power. And that translates, and then plus his grappling game was obviously much better than Darren Elkins. And maybe I didn't think about that before the fight, but definitely in hindsight, it showed. Cal saying he thought Elkins would grind him out. I mean, a lot of people did. I think I did as well. But Volkanovski showed that he had a game plan, and then he found a tactic to achieve, again, his strategic goal. He wanted to get Darren Elkins on the defense and against the cage to where he can initiate the grappling and not vice versa. How do you do that? You need to back him up with strikes. How do you do that? He countered over that lazy fucking jab of Darren Elkins all night long with that right hand. And it landed over and over and over again. Salute to Darren Elkins for being a tough son of a bitch, though, because he took some hellish shots. But definitely a good performance from Volkanovski. Interesting to see where he goes from here at 145 pounds. Moving on to flyweight, Saeed Nurmagomedov defeating Justin Scoggins via split decision. One of those fights where, because of the anticlimactic fashion of it, and because both guys wanted to play the outside kickboxing game a lot, neither guy really put a stamp on any round, I would say. But I thought Justin Scoggins won this slightly. I thought he controlled it a little more, even though he was on the defensive more. I thought he was still in control. I thought Saeed was just following him and chasing him a lot, not really doing anything with it. When he would put Scoggins against the cage or close to the cage, he really wouldn't capitalize on it in a fundamental way or any sort of like climatic way either. But, I mean, it was one of those performances where, I'll be honest, you could flip a coin toss and give it to somebody. Neither guy really made a statement in any sense of the word in any of these rounds, I would say. A lot of staring at each other. Raoni Barcelos defeating Kurt Holobaugh via KO in the third round. Fantastic fight. I believe it won fight of the night. Yes, it did. And also a fantastic knockout. Lunging power hand uppercut from Barcelos, defeating or knocking out, I should say, Holobaugh. It was rather impressive of a knockout, to be honest. And they were going at it throughout. Good little scrap right there. And shout out to Liz Carmouche for defeating Jennifer Maia via unanimous decision. Mark De La Rosa defeating Elias Garcia via submission. And Jessica Aguilar defeating Jody Escueba via unanimous decision as well. And judges were kind of all over the place here. But sort of good performance, good event for the UFC right there. I mean, it wasn't like the best card, but all fights were relatively entertaining. But moving on to another piece of news. Conor McGregor, Khabib Nurmagomedov in Russia at the same time, meeting Vladimir Putin. Yes, I know. And I'll be honest, the conspiracy theorist in me slightly definitely thinks that something's going on. Not in the terms of like political or anything like that, but even though McGregor made one of the most asinine points ever on his Instagram, that Vladimir Putin was one of the best world leaders of our time. That's a fucking joke, but it is what it is. Digressing. They're trying to make this fight happen, especially the Russian government. And I talked about this on our Patreon show, Championship Rounds. Go to patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio to go check that out. Every Sunday, you get an extra piece of content if you're a Patreon member, where it is truly a daily show, where it is every day. But the Russian government and just Eastern European governments, period, think of Kadyrov in Chechnya, who literally runs a MMA promotion while being the dictator of Chechnya. They sort of use sports as a nationalistic tentpole to disguise from the corrupt policies. And I know this might be a little bit off a tangent that's away from boxing and MMA, but just follow me here. Russian oligarchs have a big play to it big play in it as well. They put a lot of money into this to sort of get big time sporting events in Russia. There's a reason why Usyk Gassiev is in Russia, and they're bringing a lot of fighters over like Cecilia Brækhus to sort of beef up the card. There's a reason Conor McGregor and Khabib Nurmagomedov were flown out to Moscow for the World Cup final. Why? Because they want to set up that fight and put that fight in Russia. Why? Because that is what fascist dictatorships do. Point blank and simple. But to make it less political, definitely seems like there's some smoke. Maybe not there. We can't find the fire yet, but there's some smoke out there for Conor coming back and fighting Khabib next in Russia. I'm just saying, there's definitely a potential for that. Obviously, Conor was just pictured with the Migos as well. Oh, sorry, wrong picture. Picture with the Migos as well. And God knows sort of what condition he's in. In terms of being in fight shape, etc. I have no idea, but it's just an odd occurrence that the two best lightweights in the world, one the lineal champion and one the actual champion, in the same place, talking to the same people, where there's allegedly a Moscow event coming up. I'm just saying. Would be interesting if that comes true. Another piece of, not sort of rumors rumors. Anthony Pettis calling out Nate Diaz.
I want smoke.
Saying, yo, at Al Iquinta, I'm down to fight. At UFC said you are out indefinitely. At Nate Diaz 209. What's up? Don't be scared, homie. Hashtag Team Pettis. Hashtag fuck the Diaz brothers. At Dana White.
I want smoke.
This fight was talked about a while ago now. I want to say a couple years ago, but I still want this fight. And this is a great fight for Diaz coming back. You're not fighting a wrestler. You're fighting a faded kickboxer who loves submissions. You are a boxer who loves submissions. This is a fantastic fight. It can definitely main event, whether it's an ESPN card in 2019 or a Fox card at the end of the year. You can do this easily, or make it a co-main event on a pay-per-view and beef up the sales there, because they definitely will. Either way, love this matchup. I think it's the right fight to make for both guys. UFC, make it happen, please. Please make it happen. I've been wanting Anthony Pettis versus Nate Diaz for years now. So yeah, that's about it, ladies and gentlemen. I know I shouldn't say like quick show. It's been an hour show, but wrapping up here. Be back tomorrow, obviously 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, with all the latest news and rumors in the combat sports realm, whether it's boxing, MMA, Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, whatever it is, we talk about it. If you want to be a part of it, you can email me at mixedcombatradio@gmail.com to be a part of the movement. You can be heading up our social media department, be a co-host, be a producer, whatever you want to do. Get us up there easily. Follow us at Mixed Combat Radio on Instagram, MCR Radio Show on Twitter. You can find me at Matt Hunter MCR on all platforms. Rick Fulton, James Lopez, Kyle Michaels. Who else? DJ Georgie Porgy Fugatti, Wayne B. I think Rabitsky was in there. Levin. That's all of you guys. You guys are amazing. Nija. Mortal Peace. Jabron. Aaron Munoz. Munoz. Shout to all of you guys. Elias. Sorry, I didn't see your name there. Elias, what's up, everyone? Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Kyle saying he ordered the mic.
I want smoke.
Kyle wants that smoke. Soon to be co-host Kyle Michaels. Can't wait for that debut show. But be back obviously tomorrow. Check you out there. Yeah, hit that like button. Share the show. Subscribe. We hit 420 subscribers on YouTube. Let's get to 1,000 by the end of the month. Let's go. Have a great day. See y'all tomorrow. Stay safe out there.